Amara Jackson wheeled through Atlanta's bustling airport, her heart pounding with hope for a new job, her black skin glistening under harsh lights. Security officers sneered, mocking her wheelchair, spitting racial slurs, assuming she was frail. Stung, Amara recorded their cruelty, expecting justice. Passengers gasped as a suited man strode forward, his badge gleaming. Victor Hensley, Sky Pulse Airlines' CEO. His smile chilled her bones, his voice low. "Post that video, and you'll regret it," he warned. What would Amara's choice unleash? Before we dive in, tell us where you're watching from. If you stand for justice, hit like and subscribe for more gripping stories. Amara Jackson's hands trembled as she sat in her cramped Atlanta apartment, the glow of her phone screen casting shadows across her face, her wheelchair tucked beside a sagging couch. The video from the airport, raw and unedited, played on, a loop in her mind. Security officers' sneers, their racial slurs slicing through the humid air, her own voice shaking as she demanded respect. Victor Hensley's chilling warning echoed too, his polished suit and cold eyes a stark contrast to the chaotic terminal. She clutched her phone, her thumb hovering over the upload button, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. Posting the video could ruin her just as Hensley promised, but silence felt like surrender, and Amara was no quitter. She'd fought too hard, clawing her way through a world that saw her black skin and wheelchair as weaknesses, earning her data analyst job through sleepless nights and relentless grit. The job interview in Chicago, the reason for her flight, was her ticket to a better life. A chance to escape the whispers and stares of Atlanta's corporate world. She exhaled, sharp and determined, and hit upload, her video titled, "Sky Pulse, Airline's Racism Exposed," flooding social media. Within minutes, notifications exploded, her phone buzzing like a swarm of bees. Strangers shared her story, their comments a mix of outrage and support, and by dawn, the video had 1 million views. Hashtags like "Dow Justice for Amara" trending across platforms. Her inbox overflowed with messages, some calling her a hero, others slinging vile insults, but the momentum felt electric, like a storm she'd unleashed. Sky Pulse Airlines, caught in the crossfire, issued a polished apology on their website, admitting the security officer's misconduct and announcing their suspension pending investigation. Amara's chest swelled with hope, her lips curling into a rare smile as she wheeled to her kitchen, the scent of burnt coffee lingering. She imagined the officers' faces, their smugness replaced by fear, and for the first time in days, she felt powerful, like she'd cracked open a door to justice. News outlets picked up the story, and a local Atlanta station, Channel 7, invited her for a live interview, promising a platform to share her truth. She prepared meticulously, choosing a navy blazer that hugged her shoulders, practicing her words in front of a cracked mirror, her voice steady despite the knot in her stomach. The studio was a whirlwind of bright lights and hurried producers, the anchor's smile warm but practiced as they went live. Amara spoke clearly, her words sharp as she recounted the airport humiliation, the officer's slurs, and Hensley's veiled threat, her eyes locking with the camera, demanding the world listen. The anchor nodded, her expression sympathetic, and Amara felt a surge of triumph, believing her story was finally being heard. Social media lit up again, supporters flooding the station's live stream with heart emojis and calls for boycotts, and for a fleeting moment, Amara thought she'd won, that the tide had turned in her favor. But as the interview neared its end, the anchor's tone shifted, her smile tightening as she leaned forward, holding up a grainy photo printed from some obscure blog. The image showed Amara standing, her wheelchair nowhere in sight, a timestamp suggesting it was recent. The anchor's voice was smooth but pointed, asking if Amara had faked her disability to gain sympathy, if her entire story was a calculated lie. Amara's breath caught, her mind reeling as the studio lights burned hotter, the audience's gasps audible through the feed. She stammered, explaining the photo was old, taken before her spinal injury 5 years ago, but the anchor pressed, citing anonymous sources who claimed she'd scammed disability benefits. The accusation hit like a sledgehammer, twisting her moment of victory into a public crucifixion. She wheeled out of the studio, her face burning, the producer's apologies hollow as she navigated the crowded hallway, her phone already buzzing with hate-filled notifications. Back home, she scoured the internet, tracing the photo to a shadowy website linked to a PR firm notorious for corporate cover-ups. Her stomach churned as she realized this wasn't random. It was deliberate, a calculated move to discredit her. Victor Hensley's face flashed in her mind, his warning now a reality, his influence lurking behind the doctored narrative. She dug deeper, finding whispers of his involvement with the PR firm, his team already spinning lies to bury her truth. The video's momentum faltered, supporters wavering as trolls amplified the fake photo, painting her as a fraud who exploited her race for clout. Amara's hope crumbled, her apartment walls closing in as she stared at her phone, now a weapon turned against her. She thought of her sister Keisha, her only family, who'd always believed in her, and the job in Chicago, now a distant dream. The suspension of the officers felt meaningless, a hollow gesture overshadowed by this new attack. She clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms, refusing to let Hensley win. She'd fight back somehow, but the path ahead was darker than she'd imagined, the weight of his power pressing down like a storm cloud. As she refreshed her feed, a new post caught her eye. A tabloid headline hinting at financial scandals tied to her name. Another lie ready to explode. Her pulse raced, the room spinning as she realized Hensley's next move was already in motion, poised to destroy what little she had left. Amara Jackson's world crumbled as she sat in her dim Atlanta apartment, the scent of stale air mingling with her rising panic, her wheelchair creaking under the weight of her clenched fists. The doctored photo from the TV interview haunted her, its grainy lies spreading like wildfire, branding her a fraud across social media. Her phone buzzed relentlessly, each notification a dagger. Strangers called her a liar, a manipulator playing the race card, their words slicing deeper than the airport security slurs. The viral video's hope had soured, its millions of views now fueling a hate campaign that painted her black skin and disability as tools of deception. Worst of all, her employer, a tech firm she'd poured her soul into, sent a cold email, terminating her contract for reputational damage, the words blurring through her tears as she read them on her cracked laptop screen. The Chicago job, her dream of a fresh start, slipped away like sand, leaving her jobless at 32, her savings barely enough to cover next month's rent. She thought of Victor Hensley, the SkyPulse Airline CEO, his chilling smile from the airport terminal flashing in her mind, his warning about regret now a brutal reality. She scrolled through the tabloid article hinted at in her feed, its headline screaming about her alleged financial scandals, claiming she'd embezzled thousands from a charity she'd never heard of. The lies were meticulous, complete with forged bank statements. And Amara's stomach twisted, knowing Hensley's wealth and connections were behind this. Yet a flicker of defiance burned in her chest, fueled by her sister Keisha's voice in her head, urging her to fight. She reached out to her online supporters, a dwindling but loyal group, and shared the truth about the doctored photo. Her words raw and desperate. Their response was a lifeline. A local activist group, Atlanta Rising, contacted her, proposing a protest at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport to demand justice from SkyPulse. Amara hesitated, her body still aching from the emotional toll. But the thought of facing Hensley's empire head-on sparked something fierce. She agreed, spending sleepless nights planning with the group, their passion reigniting her hope. On the protest day, the summer sun blazed at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, the asphalt radiating heat as hundreds gathered outside the terminal, their signs bold with slogans like "Stop SkyPulse Racism" and "Amara Deserves Justice." Amara wheeled to the front, her navy blazer soaked with sweat, her voice amplified by a megaphone as she recounted her story, the crowd's cheers drowning out the roar of departing planes. Local news vans arrived, their cameras capturing every word, and for the first time since the interview, Amara felt seen, her truth cutting through the lies. The protest swelled, blocking the airport's main entrance, and social media buzzed, with live streams, hashtags trending again as supporters shared her speech. She dared to believe she'd turned the tide, that Hensley's smear campaign was faltering under the weight of collective outrage. But Victor Hensley, watching from his sleek office 10 miles away, had no intention of losing. His jaw tightened as he scrolled through the protest footage, his PR team already at work. He'd anticipated Amara's resilience, and he was ready to crush it. He contacted a shady operative, a man known for dirty tactics and funneled cash, to plant agitators in the crowd. As Amara spoke, the mood shifted, a ripple of unease spreading through the protesters. Shouts erupted from the edges, and suddenly, a group of masked counter-protesters surged forward, their signs spewing hate, echoing the tabloids' lies about Amara's embezzlement. The crowd fractured, confusion turning to chaos as fists flew and bottles shattered against the pavement. Amara's megaphone fell silent, her eyes wide as she wheeled back, her heart pounding like a trapped bird. A brick sailed through the air, grazing her shoulder, and pain shot through her arm. Blood seeping through her blazer. Police sirens wailed, their lights flashing red and blue. But instead of restoring order, the officers, influenced by Hensley's allies in the city, targeted the protesters, tear gas canisters hissing as they landed. Amara coughed, her lungs burning, her wheelchair stuck in the stampede as bodies pushed past. A young activist yanked her to safety, but the damage was done. Her shoulder throbbed, her spirit battered, and the news now spun the protest as a violent riot sparked by her lies. She limped home with Keisha's help, her apartment a refuge turned prison, her phone flooded with new hate messages blaming her for the chaos. The tabloid's embezzlement story gained traction, shared by major outlets, and her supporters dwindled, further, some unfollowing in doubt. Amara stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror, her face bruised, her eyes hollow, the weight of Hensley's power crushing her. She'd thought the protest would reclaim her narrative, but it had backfired, leaving her more isolated than ever. Yet a spark of resolve flickered, her mind racing with plans to fight back, to expose Hensley's lies. She opened her laptop, searching for clues about his operative, determined to find a way forward. But as she typed, a breaking news alert flashed. Her name, tied to new allegations, hinting at deeper scandals. Her pulse spiked, the room spinning as she realized Hensley's next attack was already unfolding, poised to bury her alive. Would Amara find the strength to rise again, or was this the moment she'd finally break? If you're raging at the injustice Amara's facing, drop a #1 in the comments to stand with her fight. Hit like, subscribe, and join us to see if she can outsmart Hensley's ruthless game. What desperate move will Amara make to claw her way back from this chaos? Amara Jackson's shoulder throbbed as she wheeled through her Atlanta apartment, the bruise from the protest riot pulsing under her skin, her reflection in the cracked mirror showing a woman battered but unbroken. The news alerts from her phone stung worse than the injury, each one amplifying the tabloid's lies about her alleged embezzlement, branding her a criminal in the eyes of a city that once cheered her. The protest chaos replayed in her mind, the tear gas choking her lungs, the brick grazing her arm, all orchestrated by Victor Hensley, the Skypulse Airline's CEO whose power seemed to seep into every corner of her life. Her job was gone, her reputation shredded, and her savings dwindled to a few $100s, barely enough for rent in the humid Atlanta summer. Yet defiance burned in her gut, a fire stoked by her sister Keisha's late-night pep talks and the memory of her mother, who'd faced her own battles as a black woman in a world that rarely listened. Amara refused to let Hensley's lies define her. She spent days researching, her laptop screen glowing through sleepless nights, until she found Elena Ruiz, a fierce Latina lawyer known for taking on corporate giants. Elena's office, tucked in a gritty downtown strip, smelled of coffee and determination, her walls lined with photos of victorious clients. She listened to Amara's story, her eyes narrowing at Hensley's name, and agreed to file a discrimination lawsuit against Skypulse, citing the airport incident's racial and ableist abuse. The case ignited a spark of hope, and as Elena built the paperwork, Amara gathered evidence, her viral video, witness statements from passengers, and medical records proving her spinal injury. The lawsuit hit the news, headlines flashing across. Atlanta's screens and activists rallied online, their hashtags like Justice for Amara trending once more. Amara felt a surge of pride, her heart racing as she imagined facing Hensley in court, his smug smile crumbling under the weight of truth. The courthouse, a looming stone building 5 miles from her apartment, buzzed with reporters as the trial began. the summer heat sticking to her skin at 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside, the air conditioning hummed, but the tension was suffocating. The wooden pews packed with spectators. Elena presented the video, its audio crisp as it replayed the security officer's slurs, the crowd's gasps echoing Amara's own pain. Witnesses confirmed her story, their voices steady, and the judge, a stern woman with gray hair, nodded thoughtfully, her pen scratching notes. Amara's chest swelled, her fingers gripping her wheelchair's armrests, believing justice was within reach. She testified, her voice clear despite the knot in her throat, describing the airport humiliation and Hensley's chilling threat, her eyes locked on the jury, pleading for them to see her truth. Elena's closing argument was a masterpiece, tearing into Skypulse's negligence and systemic bias, and Amara dared to dream of victory, of reclaiming her life. The courtroom felt like a battlefield, and she was winning, the jury sympathetic, glances fueling her hope. But Victor Hensley, seated in his high-rise office 10 miles away, had other plans. His jaw clenched as he watched the trial's live stream, his tailored suit pristine but his mind racing. He'd underestimated Amara's tenacity, but he wouldn't lose to a woman he saw as beneath him, her blackness and disability fuel for his disdain. He'd already paid a small fortune to smear her name, but now he went further, slipping $20,000 to a corrupt court clerk, a wiry man with a gambling debt. The clerk tampered with Amara's video file, splicing in subtle edits to make it look manipulated, the audio slightly off, the timestamps misaligned. When Elena submitted the video for final review, the judge's brow furrowed, her tone sharp, as she questioned its authenticity. The prosecution pounced, accusing Amara of fabricating evidence, their words dripping with contempt. Amara's heart sank, her palms sweating as Elena scrambled to explain, but the damage was done. The judge, her face hardening, dismissed the case, citing insufficient evidence and warning Amara about perjury, her gavel's crack echoing like a gunshot. The courtroom erupted, reporters scribbling furiously, and Amara sat frozen, her victory snatched away. The jury's eyes now cold with doubt. She wheeled out, the marble hallway blurring through tears, Elena's apologies drowned by the roar in her ears. The summer rain poured outside, soaking her blazer as she reached the courthouse steps, her wheelchair squeaking under the deluge. She fumbled for her phone, hoping to rally her supporters, but a notification stopped her cold. The news was already spinning the dismissal, calling her a fraud who'd wasted the court's time. As she struggled to process the betrayal, a group of men emerged from the shadows, their faces obscured by hoods, their laughter harsh against the rain's patter. They circled her, one kicking her wheelchair's frame, another yanking its wheel, snapping a spoke with a sickening crunch. Amara screamed, her voice lost in the storm, her hands shielding her face as they spray-painted a racial slur across her chair, the red paint dripping like blood. A passerby's shout scared them off, but Amara was left stranded, her wheelchair barely functional, her body shaking in the 80-degree night. She dragged herself to a bus stop, the rain masking her sobs, her mind replaying the judge's dismissal, the tampered video, the mob's attack. Hensley's shadow loomed larger than ever, his bribe and hired thugs proof of his reach, his refusal to let her win. Her apartment felt miles away, her spirit crushed under the weight of systemic betrayal, the legal system another tool in Hensley's arsenal. Yet as she sat, soaked and shivering, a flicker of resolve sparked, her mother's words echoing, "Never let them break you." She thought of Keisha, her rock, and Elena, still fighting despite the loss. She'd find a way to expose Hensley, to make him pay, but the path was treacherous, his next move already lurking. As she boarded a bus, a stranger's stare felt too deliberate, too knowing, hinting at dangers yet to come. Amara Jackson's hands shook as she maneuvered her damaged wheelchair into her sister Keisha's modest Atlanta home, the scent of jasmine from the porch barely masking the metallic tang of fear in her throat. The courthouse mob's attack lingered, her wheelchair's broken spoke scraping the hardwood floor, the red-painted racial slur still vivid on its frame, a cruel reminder of Victor Hensley's reach. Rain from that night had soaked her to the bone, and the stranger's stare on the bus haunted her, a warning of dangers closing in. Her lawsuit against Skypulse Airlines had collapsed, the tampered video and judge's dismissal branding her a liar, her dreams of justice drowned in a sea of headlines that mocked her pain. Keisha's home, a 2-bedroom haven 10 miles from downtown, was her last refuge, its walls adorned with family photos that grounded her shattered spirit. Keisha, a bakery owner with a laugh that could light up a room, wrapped Amara in a hug, her calloused hands warm against Amara's bruised shoulder. The sisters sat late into the night, the hum of a box fan cutting through the 80-degree humidity, as Amara poured out her despair, the lost job, the viral video's betrayal, Hensley's shadow over every defeat. Keisha's eyes blazed with defiance, refusing to let her sister break, and she proposed a crowdfunding campaign to replace Amara's wheelchair, a practical step to reclaim some control. Amara hesitated, wary of more public scrutiny, but Keisha's insistence won out, her optimism a lifeline in the darkness. They launched the campaign online, Amara's story of resilience paired with a photo of her battered chair, and within days, donations poured in, thousands of strangers moved by her fight. By week's end, they'd raised $10,000, enough for a new wheelchair with sleek titanium wheels, and Amara's heart lifted, her smile tentative as she read messages of support. Keisha baked celebratory cupcakes, their vanilla frosting sweet against the bitterness of recent weeks, and for a fleeting moment, Amara believed she could rebuild, that Hensley's grip was loosening. She wheeled through the house, testing the new chair's smooth glide, imagining a future where she'd expose the CEO's lies, maybe even reclaim her data analyst career. But Victor Hensley, pacing his opulent office 15 miles away, had no intention of letting Amara breathe. His jaw tightened as he scrolled through the crowdfunding page, the donations a slap to his ego, proof of her stubborn defiance. He saw her blackness, her disability, her audacity as insults to his empire, and he'd crush her for it. He hired a private investigator, a lean man with a knack for intimidation, paying him $30,000 to target Amara's family, to break her spirit where it hurt most. The investigator dug into Keisha's life, uncovering her bakery's fragile finances, and Hensley devised a plan to strike. Late one night, as Atlanta slept under a crescent moon, Amara woke to a crash, glass shattering in the living room. Her pulse spiked, her body frozen as she gripped her wheelchair, the new wheels silent but her breath loud in the dark. Keisha's scream pierced the silence, and Amara wheeled toward the sound, her heart a drum against her ribs. Masked intruders, 3 shadows in black, tore through the house, their boots crunching glass, their flashlights slicing the darkness. They spray-painted racial slurs across the walls, jagged white letters screaming hate, and overturned Keisha's bakery supplies, flour and sugar spilling like snow across the floor. Amara's voice cracked as she yelled for them to stop, her hands fumbling for her phone. But one intruder kicked it away, his laugh cold as he loomed over her. Keisha swung, a lamp shattering it against another's shoulder, but they shoved her down, her head slamming against a table. Amara's vision blurred with rage and fear, her spinal injury screaming as she tried to reach her sister, but the intruders fled as neighbors' shouts echoed outside, their taillights vanishing into the night. The house was a war zone. Photos, torn, walls defaced, Keisha's bakery dreams buried under ruined ingredients worth thousands. Amara held Keisha, her sister's forehead bleeding, her own guilt heavier than the debris. She blamed herself, knowing her fight had brought this horror to their doorstep. Hensley's retaliation more personal, more vicious than anything before. Keisha, dazed but fierce, refused to let Amara spiral, insisting they'd rebuild. But the damage was deeper than the physical. Amara's crowdfunding supporters wavered, some withdrawing donations as news of the attack spread, twisted by Hensley's allies into a narrative of Amara's chaos. She scoured the wreckage, finding a neighbor's security camera that had caught the intruder's van, its blurry license plate a fragile lid. Her hands trembled as she saved the footage, her mind racing with plans to trace it, to expose Hensley's hired thugs. She and Keisha patched the broken windows with cardboard, the jasmine scent gone, replaced by the stench of paint and despair. Amara's new wheelchair felt like a cruel irony, its shine mocking her shattered refuge. She thought of her mother, who'd faced eviction and prejudice yet never bowed, and clung to that strength, vowing to protect Keisha and fight back. But as she uploaded the security footage to a private cloud, a text from an unknown number flashed. "You can't hide." Her blood ran cold, the room shrinking as she realized Hensley's investigator was watching, his next move already in motion, poised to strike harder than ever. Amara Jackson's fingers trembled as she hunched over her laptop in Keisha's ravaged Atlanta home, the faint smell of spray paint lingering despite their efforts to scrub the racial slurs from the walls, her new wheelchair's wheels catching on scattered flour from the intruder's attack. The security footage from the neighbor's camera, grainy but damning, played on a loop, the van's blurry license plate her only lead to Victor Hensley's hired thugs. Her heart pounded. The anonymous text, "You can't hide," burning in her mind, a chilling reminder of the SkyPulse Airlines CEO's relentless pursuit. The home invasion had shattered her refuge, Keisha's bakery supplies ruined, her sister's forehead still bandaged from the assault, and Amara's guilt was a weight heavier than her spinal injury's constant ache. Her crowdfunding victory felt like a cruel joke, the new wheelchair useless against Hensley's escalating war. She'd lost her job, her lawsuit, her reputation, each defeat a brick in the wall of systemic racism that seemed to surround her, her blackness a target for his hate. Yet Keisha's fierce encouragement, her voice sharp over morning coffee, pushed Amara to fight, to turn the footage into a weapon. She reached out to Marcus Tate, a local journalist with a small but loyal following, known for exposing corporate corruption. His office, a cluttered loft 5 miles from Keisha's house, buzzed with the hum of a single fan battling the 85-degree heat, his desk piled with notes and empty soda cans. Marcus watched the footage, his brow furrowing as he recognized the van's markings, linking it to a known mercenary group. He agreed to air the story on his independent news channel, promising to tie it to SkyPulse's broader pattern of misconduct. Amara's pulse quickened, her hope fragile but growing, as they crafted a segment that paired the footage with her viral airport video, her voiceover raw as she described Hensley's campaign against her. The story aired that night, streaming to thousands, and social media erupted, viewers sharing the clip with hashtags like #ExposeSkyPulse, their outrage a roaring tide. News outlets picked it up, and by morning, Atlanta's police department announced an investigation into the home invasion, citing public pressure. Amara sat with Keisha, their TV glowing in the dim living room, her sister's hand squeezing hers as the anchor praised her courage. For the first time in weeks, Amara felt the scales tipping, her chest light with the belief that Hensley's empire was cracking, that justice might finally be hers. She imagined the thugs arrested, their trail leading to Hensley, his smug face exposed to the world. Marcus texted her, buzzing with plans for a follow-up, and she dared to dream of reclaiming her life, maybe even her career. But Victor Hensley, sprawled in his penthouse office 12 miles away, was far from defeated. His eyes narrowed as he watched the broadcast, his fingers drumming on a mahogany desk, his tailored suit pristine despite the rage simmering beneath. Amara's persistence was an insult, her black resilience a challenge to his control, and he'd bury her for it. He'd anticipated her move, his private investigator already feeding him her communications with Marcus. Hensley called in a favor from a corrupt police captain, a man indebted to SkyPulse's political donations, and spun a new narrative. He leaked doctored metadata to a tabloid, claiming Amara had faked the security footage, splicing it to frame innocent contractors. The story spread like wildfire, amplified by Hensley's media allies, and public doubt crept in, supporters hesitating as trolls flooded Marcus's channel with accusations. Hensley didn't stop there. He pushed the captain to act, framing Amara as a cybercriminal orchestrating a smear campaign. That night, as Amara and Keisha planned their next steps, sirens wailed outside, red and blue lights flashing through the cardboard-covered windows. Amara's stomach dropped, her wheelchair frozen as police battered down the door, their boots stomping over the flour-dusted floor. The captain led the raid, his face hard as he accused Amara of fabricating evidence, his warrant citing illegal surveillance. Officers tore through the house, overturning furniture, seizing Amara's laptop and phone, her lifeline to the outside world. Keisha shouted, her voice breaking as she demanded answers, but a cop shoved her against a wall, her bandage tearing open. Amara's hands shook, her voice lost in the chaos, her body trapped as officers rifled through her belongings, pocketing the USB with the original footage. The captain sneered, his breath hot as he leaned close, warning her to drop her crusade or face worse. Neighbors gathered outside, their whispers a mix of pity and suspicion. The raid live-streamed by a bystander, twisting Amara's image further. The police left, their sirens fading, but the house was a wreck. Keisha's face bruised, Amara's tech gone, her hope gutted. She sat amid the debris, her new wheelchair scratched, her mind replaying the captain's words. Hensley's shadow, looming larger than ever. The investigation she'd sparked was now a trap, the footage discredited, her name tied to new crimes. She thought of Marcus, wondering if he'd stand by her, and Keisha, whose strength was all she had left. Her fingers traced the wheelchair's frame, her mother's resilience echoing in her blood, urging her to fight. She'd find a way to trace the mercenaries, to expose Hensley's corruption, but the cost was mounting. Her every move watched. As she helped Keisha clean, a news alert flashed. A new report, hinting at her ties to a hacker network, another lie poised to strike. Her breath hitched, the walls closing in as Hensley's next blow loomed, deadlier than before. If you're furious at how the system keeps failing Amara, comment number 1 to demand truth prevails. Hit like, subscribe, and stay with us to see if she can break Hensley's grip. Can Amara outsmart a trap that's tightening by the second? Amara Jackson's breath hitched as she wheeled through Keisha's wrecked Atlanta home, the sting of flour dust still sharp in the air. Her new wheelchair's wheels crunching over glass shards from the police raid that had stripped her of her laptop and hope. The news report about her alleged hacker ties looped in her mind, Victor Hensley's lies tightening like a noose around her life, each blow more vicious than the last. Her sister Keisha's bruised face, lit by a flickering lamp, was a constant reminder of the home invasion's cost. The racial slurs on their walls a scar that wouldn't fade. The police captain's sneer, his warning to drop her fight, echoed alongside the anonymous text from the investigator, proof that Hensley, the Skypulse Airline's CEO, was watching her every move. Amara's world had shrunk to this house, her job gone, her lawsuit crushed, her name slandered across Atlanta's screens, her blackness and disability weaponized by a system that refused to see her truth. Yet a spark of defiance burned, fueled by her mother's memory, a woman who'd faced foreclosure and prejudice with unyielding strength. Amara clung to that fire, knowing she needed allies to fight Hensley's empire. She used Keisha's old tablet, its screen cracked but functional, to scour encrypted forums, her fingers trembling as she searched for help. A message from Justice Rising, an underground activist group known for battling corporate corruption, caught her eye. Their logo a clenched fist against a red star. She met their leader, Jamal Carter, in a derelict warehouse 8 miles from downtown, the air thick with mildew and the hum of distant traffic. Jamal, a wiry man with a scar across his cheek, spoke with quiet intensity, promising to hack Skypulse's servers for evidence of Hensley's crimes. His team, a mix of coders and ex-activists, moved with practiced secrecy, their laptops glowing in the shadows. They uncovered emails linking Hensley to the mercenaries who'd trashed Keisha's home, the words cold and explicit, detailing payments and orders to intimidate. Amara's pulse raced, her wheelchair creaking as she leaned forward. The evidence, a lifeline she hadn't dared hope for. Justice Rising planned a public data leak, scheduling it for a live stream to millions, and Amara felt victory within reach, her heart pounding with the thought of Hensley's downfall. She spent days with the group, learning their coded signals, her data analyst skills sharpening their search, the warehouse's damp walls fading as she imagined justice. Jamal's confidence was infectious, his stories of past wins against greedy CEOs fueling her resolve, and she believed they'd expose Hensley, maybe even clear her name. The stream's date loomed, set for a Friday night under Atlanta's starry sky, and Amara prepared her statement, her voice steady as she rehearsed, envisioning the world finally hearing her truth. But Victor Hensley, lounging in his glass-walled office 15 miles away, was steps ahead. His lips curled as he sipped bourbon, his private investigators' reports detailing Amara's every move, her desperation, a game he relished. He saw her black resilience as an affront, her fight a challenge to his untouchable status, and he'd end it. He'd paid off one of Justice Rising's members, a young coder named Lila, her student loans a lever he pulled with $50,000. Lila, her eyes darting nervously, betrayed the group, leaking Amara's location and the stream's details to Hensley's team. As Amara and Jamal finalized the leak in the warehouse, the night erupted in chaos, floodlights piercing. The darkness, the roar of helicopters overhead shaking the rusted roof. A SWAT team tipped off by Hensley's police allies stormed the building, their boots pounding, rifles raised, tear gas canisters hissing. Amara's lungs burned, her wheelchair skidding on the concrete as she wheeled toward a side exit. Jamal's, shouts lost in the gunfire. The team scattered, laptops smashed, papers burning. But Lila's absence was a silent scream of betrayal. The SWAT captain, the same man from the raid, grabbed Amara's arm, his grip bruising as he accused her of cyber-terrorism, his warrant citing the fake hacker ties Hensley had planted. They arrested Jamal and the others, cuffing them as cameras flashed. The raid live-streamed to paint Amara as a criminal mastermind. She slipped free, her wheelchair's speed her only edge, tumbling into an alley as bullets grazed the walls, her body aching, her spine screaming. She hid behind a dumpster, the stench of rot choking her, her heart a frantic drum as the helicopters circled. The warehouse burned, its flames licking the night sky, her evidence destroyed, her allies gone. She was a fugitive now, her name plastered on every news channel, the hacker narrative swallowing her truth. Keisha's face flashed in her mind, her sister's strength all she had left, but contacting her risked more pain. Amara's hands shook, her clothes torn, her wheelchair scratched, the weight of Hensley's betrayal crushing her. The system had turned on her again, her blackness a crime in their eyes, the raid a stark reminder of his power. Yet her mother's voice whispered, urging her to fight, to find another way. She thought of Marcus, the journalist, wondering if he'd believe her now, and the emails, fragments she'd memorized before the fire. She'd track Lila, expose the traitor, and hunt for new allies, but the city felt like a trap. Hensley's eyes everywhere. As she wheeled into the shadows, a police scanner crackled nearby, her name on its static hinting at a manhunt poised to strike. Amara Jackson's heart hammered as she wheeled through the muggy darkness of a rural Georgia motel, 30 miles from Atlanta, the stench of mildew and cheap bleach clinging to her clothes, her scratched wheelchair creaking under the strain of her escape from the SWAT raid. The warehouse fire's glow still burned in her mind, Justice Rising's betrayal by Lila a knife in her gut, the SWAT captain's cyber-terrorism accusations turning her into a fugitive. Her black skin felt like a target in the quiet town, her disability a spotlight as she hid from the police scanners crackling with her name. Keisha's bruised face haunted her, the home invasion's racial slurs a wound that wouldn't heal, Victor Hensley's shadow stretching across every loss. Her job, her lawsuit, her allies, the Skypulse Airline's CEO's power seemed infinite, his bribes and mercenaries crushing her at every turn. Yet her mother's resilience pulsed in her veins, urging her to fight. She ditched her phone after the raid, knowing Hensley's investigator could track it, and bought a burner with her last $20. Its dim screen her only link to the world. Huddled in the motel's sagging bed, the 80-degree night pressing against the window, she contacted Elena Ruiz, her lawyer, using a coded message to avoid detection. Elena, working from a cramped office in Atlanta, had been digging into Skypulse's records, her voice tense but hopeful over the crackling call. She'd found a whistleblower, a former Skypulse accountant named Sarah Klein, who claimed to have documents proving Hensley's payments to the mercenaries who'd attacked Amara's home. Amara's breath caught, her fingers gripping the burner phone, the promise of evidence reigniting her fire. Elena arranged a secret meeting at a deserted gas station 20 miles away, set for dawn, and Amara spent the night memorizing the route, her wheelchair's battery low, but enough to get her there. She moved under cover of darkness, the rural road's gravel crunching beneath her wheels, the air thick with cicadas, and the weight of her fear. Her spine ached, her shoulders still bruised from the protest riot, but the thought of exposing Hensley pushed her forward, her mind racing with visions of his arrest. The gas station loomed, its neon sign flickering, Sarah waiting in a battered sedan, her nervous eyes scanning the horizon. Amara wheeled closer, her heart soaring as Sarah held up a flash drive, its files detailing Hensley's financial trails. For a moment she believed she'd won, that this evidence would break his empire, clear her name, and free her from the fugitive's life. She reached for the drive, her fingers brushing Sarah's, her hope a fragile flame in the pre-dawn chill. But Victor Hensley, monitoring from his Atlanta penthouse, 15 miles from the city's core, had anticipated her desperation. His lips twitched as he reviewed his investigator's latest report. Amara's burner phone signal intercepted by a hacker he'd paid $40,000. Her black defiance, her refusal to break, infuriated him, and he'd end her fight with force. He deployed a team of private security mercenaries, ex-military men with cold eyes and silenced rifles, their van idling 10 miles from the gas station. As Amara and Sarah exchanged words, the night exploded, headlights blinding, tires screeching as the mercenaries' van roared into view. Amara's pulse spiked, her wheelchair skidding on the gravel as she shouted for Sarah to run. The men leapt out, their boots pounding, one smashing the sedan's window glass shattering like ice. Sarah screamed, dropping the flash drive, its plastic case cracking as a mercenary stomped it, the files destroyed in seconds. Another grabbed Elena's arm, twisting it until she cried out, her phone smashed to prevent calls for help. Amara wheeled toward a ditch, her battery faltering, her body screaming as bullets grazed the air, one nicking her arm, blood seeping through her torn sleeve. Elena fought back, kicking a mercenary's knee, but a rifle butt struck her temple, and she crumpled, blood pooling on the gravel. Amara's vision blurred with panic, her wheelchair tipping as she dove into a swampy ditch, the murky water soaking her to the chest, reeds shielding her from view. The mercenaries searched, their flashlights slicing the dawn, their curses sharp as they found no trace of her. They dragged Sarah and Elena into the van, leaving the flash drive's fragments scattered, their taillights fading as Amara shivered in the muck, her arm bleeding, her spine in agony. The gas station burned behind her, flames licking the pumps, a message from Hensley's men that no evidence would survive. Amara crawled out, her wheelchair half submerged, its motor dead, her body trembling in the 70-degree morning. She was alone, her allies taken, her hope gutted, the whistleblowers, proof reduced to ash. The system had failed her again, her blackness a crime in Hensley's world, the ambush a brutal escalation of his war. She thought of Keisha, praying her sister was safe, and Elena, now a captive because of her. Her mother's strength whispered, urging her to move, to find another way. She dragged herself to a nearby barn, hiding among hay bales, her mind racing for a plan. She'd track Sarah, find Elena, and rebuild the evidence, but the rural silence felt like a trap, Hensley's mercenaries likely circling back. As she bandaged her arm with a torn shirt, a distant siren wailed, its pitch signaling a hunt that wouldn't stop. Amara Jackson's body ached as she wheeled back into Atlanta's gritty outskirts, her clothes still damp from the swamp where she'd hidden from Victor Hensley's mercenaries. The sting of her bleeding arm a constant reminder of the gas station ambush that had destroyed her whistleblower's evidence. The rural barn's hay dust clung to her wheelchair, its motor barely functional after the ditch, her spine screaming with every jolt on the potholed roads. Elena's crumpled form, blood pooling on the gravel, haunted her, the mercenaries' rifles flashing in her mind, Hensley's Skypulse Airlines empire crushing her at every turn. She was a fugitive, her black skin and disability marking her. As prey in a city turned hostile, the police manhunt sirens echoing in her memory. Keisha's home, ravaged by intruders, was no longer safe, and contacting her sister risked more pain. Yet Amara's mother's voice, steady through years of struggle, urged her to fight, to rise despite the weight of systemic betrayal. She'd dragged herself 20 miles, hitchhiking with a wary trucker, her burner phone's battery dead, her last dollar spent on a bus ticket back to Atlanta. Her heart pounded as she reached a community center in a rundown neighborhood, its faded sign promising hope, its walls buzzing with activists who'd followed her story. She met Aisha Brooks, a fiery organizer with braided hair and a voice like thunder, who'd rallied locals after the warehouse raid's viral footage. Aisha's eyes blazed as she listened to Amara's tale, the ambush, Elena's capture, and Hensley's mercenaries, Her fists clenched at the injustice. She proposed a massive protest outside Skypulse's headquarters, a glass tower 10 miles from the city center, to demand Hensley's resignation and Amara's exoneration. Amara's pulse quickened, her fear warring with hope, but Aisha's passion was contagious, her plan to mobilize thousands a spark in the darkness. They spent days organizing, Amara's data analyst mind-mapping logistics, her wheelchair weaving through crowded meetings, the summer heat hitting 92 degrees Fahrenheit. The protest erupted on a Saturday, the tower's shadow looming, as thousands flooded the streets, their chants shaking the pavement, signs blazing with Free Amara and End Skypulse corruption. Amara wheeled at the front, her voice raw through a borrowed megaphone, recounting her airport humiliation, the lawsuit's betrayal, and the ambush's terror, her words igniting the crowd. News helicopters buzzed overhead, their cameras streaming. Live and social media exploded. Hashtags like Amara Fights Back trending globally, supporters sharing her speech in millions. Amara's chest swelled, her bruises fading in the roar of solidarity, believing she'd finally broken through. That Hensley's empire was crumbling under the people's rage. She imagined him watching, his smug smile faltering, his boardroom scrambling as stocks dipped. Aisha squeezed her shoulder, whispering they'd done it. And for a fleeting moment, Amara felt invincible, her fight no longer hers alone. But Victor, Hensley, pacing his penthouse office 15 miles away, smirked at the chaos, his bourbon glass glinting in the sunlight, his mind 3 steps ahead. Amara's black defiance, her ability to rally a city, was an insult he'd erase with fire. He saw her as a threat to his untouchable status, her wheelchair a symbol of weakness he despised, and he'd turn her victory to ash. He'd hired a team of agitators, rough men with rap sheets, paying them $60,000 to infiltrate the protest, their faces hidden under hoods, their orders to spark violence. As Amara spoke, the crowd's energy shifted, a ripple of aggression spreading from the edges. Shouts turned to screams, and the agitators struck, hurling bottles, overturning barricades, their taunts laced with racial slurs echoing the home invasion's hate. The protest fractured, families fleeing as fists flew, the air thick with panic and the crack of breaking glass. Amara's megaphone slipped, her wheelchair pinned in the crush, her heart racing as Aisha pulled her back, her eyes wide with shock. Police under Hensley's influence through a bribed commissioner swarmed the scene, their riot gear gleaming, tear gas canisters hissing as they landed, the acrid smoke choking Amara's lungs. Instead of targeting the agitators, they charged the protesters, batons swinging, arrests piling up, their radios crackling with orders to pin the blame on Amara. News channels, fed by Hensley's media allies, spun the riot as her doing. Her, face plastered across screens, labeled a domestic terrorist, her blackness weaponized into a threat. Amara's hope shattered, her body trembling as she wheeled through alleys, Aisha's hand guiding her, the city's pulse hostile, the protest's triumph twisted into a nightmare. She hid in a shuttered storefront, its windows boarded, the stench of mold heavy in the 80-degree night. Her arm bled anew, her wheelchair's frame bent, her spirit battered by the system's betrayal. The riot a stark escalation of Hensley's war. She thought of Elena, praying she was alive. And Keisha, hoping she'd stayed safe. Her mother's strength whispered, urging her to rise, but the terrorist label clung like tar, her supporters dwindling, some turning away in fear. She'd lost the crowd, the evidence, her freedom, each loss a blow from Hensley's invisible hand. Yet her mind raced, plotting a desperate counterattack, a way to expose his agitators, to reclaim her truth. As she caught her breath, a TV in the storefront flickered, a breaking news alert flashing her name, hinting at new charges, another trap poised to strike. If you're outraged at how Amara's fight keeps getting twisted, comment number 1. To stand against this injustice, hit like, subscribe, and join us to see if she can turn the tide. Will Amara find a way to strike back, or is Hensley's trap too tight to escape? Amara Jackson's breath rasped as she crouched in a derelict Atlanta warehouse, the air thick with dust and the sour tang of rusted metal. Her battered wheelchair creaking under the weight of her trembling body, her bleeding arm throbbing from the protest riot's chaos. The boarded storefront's flickering TV still burned in her mind, its news alert branding her a domestic terrorist, Victor Hensley's orchestrated riot turning her community's support to ash. The Skypulse Airlines CEO's shadow loomed over every loss. Her job, her lawsuit, her allies, each defeat a calculated strike against her blackness and disability, her fight a crime in his world. She was a fugitive, her face plastered on every screen in Atlanta. The police manhunts sirens a constant threat in the 80-degree night. Keisha's ravaged home, Elena's capture, Aisha's scattered protesters, all weighed on her heart, the system's betrayal a noose tightening with every step. Yet her mother's unyielding spirit, forged through decades of prejudice, pulsed in her veins, urging her to strike back. She'd salvaged a burner phone from a pawn shop, its cracked screen barely functional, and used it to contact a rogue coder named Tariq, a reclusive genius she'd met through Justice Rising's forums. Before their betrayal, Tariq's hideout, a cluttered basement 5 miles from the warehouse, buzzed with the hum of servers, his dreadlocks swaying as he hunched over a keyboard, his eyes glinting with defiance. He agreed to help Amara hack Skypulse's servers. His skills her last hope to find evidence of Hensley's corruption. They worked through the night, the basement's stale air heavy, their screens glowing with lines of code as they breached Skypulse's firewall, Amara's data analyst expertise, guiding their search. Her heart raced as they uncovered a recording, Hensley's voice cold and unmistakable, admitting to orchestrating her persecution. From the airport slurs to the mercenaries' ambush, the file, buried in an encrypted folder, detailed his payments to thugs, his bribes to police, his media spins, a digital confession that could destroy him. Amara's chest tightened, her fingers gripping her wheelchair's armrests, believing she'd finally found the key to justice, a way to clear her name and free Elena. Tariq grinned, his voice low as he copied the file, planning to leak it to a major news outlet, the Atlanta Beacon, known for fearless reporting. They sent the recording anonymously, Amara's pulse pounding as she imagined the story breaking, the world hearing Hensley's truth, his empire crumbling under the weight of his own words. The Beacon confirmed receipt, promising a prime time expose, and by dawn, the story aired. The anchor's voice grave as she played the recording, Hensley's confession echoing across millions of screens. Social media erupted, hashtags like Hensley Exposed trending globally, and federal investigators announced a probe into Skypulse, citing the leaked evidence. Amara sat with Tariq, their basement lit by a single bulb, her hope soaring as she watched the broadcast, believing she'd won, that her fugitive days were over, that Keisha could finally be safe. She pictured Hensley's face, his smugness shattered, his boardroom in chaos as stocks plummeted. Tariq toasted with a soda can, calling her a warrior, and Amara allowed herself a fleeting smile, her bruises and exhaustion fading in the glow of victory. But Victor Hensley, pacing his fortified office 12 miles away, was far from defeated. His eyes glinted with fury as he watched the Beacon's broadcast, his tailored suit rumpled, his bourbon glass empty. Amara's black resilience, her ability to strike from the shadows, was a personal affront, and he'd bury her deeper than ever. He'd anticipated a digital counterattack, his tech team planting a virus in Skypulse's servers weeks ago, a silent trap for any hacker. The virus, triggered by Tariq's breach, corrupted the leaked recording, altering its metadata to make it appear fabricated, timestamps misaligned, audio spliced. Hensley fed the corrupted file to his media allies, who ran stories claiming Amara had forged the evidence, her hacker ties now proof of her criminality. Public opinion shifted, supporters wavering as the Beacon retracted its story, citing verification issues, the federal probe stalling. Hensley didn't stop there. He tipped off the FBI, his police contacts framing Amara as the hack's mastermind, her burner phone signal traced to the basement. As Amara and Tariq planned their next move, the warehouse's silence shattered, floodlights piercing the windows, the roar of armored vans surrounding the building. Federal agents stormed in, their boots pounding, rifles raised, shouting orders to freeze. Amara's heart lurched, her wheelchair skidding on the concrete as she tried to wheel away, Tariq's keyboard clattering as he was tackled. The lead agent, a grim man with a crew cut, grabbed Amara's arm, his cuffs cold as he arrested her for cybercrimes, his warrant citing the corrupted file and her terrorist label. They seized Tariq's servers, smashing hard drives, the recording's fragments lost in the chaos. Amara's vision blurred, her body trembling as agents dragged her out, her wheelchair scraping the ground, her hope gutted. The raid was live-streamed, her face broadcast as a criminal, the system twisting her truth once more, her blackness a perpetual crime. She thought of Keisha, praying her sister wouldn't see this, and Elena, wondering if she'd ever be free. Her mother's strength flickered, but the cuffs tightened, her body aching, her spirit battered by Hensley's trap. The warehouse faded, replaced by a van's cold interior, the city a blur through its windows. Her fight reduced to a cell awaiting her. Yet her mind clung to fragments of the recording, words she'd memorized, a spark to reignite her battle. As the van sped toward jail, a radio crackled, hinting at new charges. Hensley's next blow poised to strike harder than ever. Amara Jackson's wrists burned under the cold bite of handcuffs as she was shoved into a dimly lit cell at Fulton County Jail, the clang of the steel door echoing like a death knell, her battered wheelchair creaking as it scraped the concrete floor, her body aching from the FBI raid that had crushed her desperate counterattack. The warehouse's chaos replayed in her mind, the corrupted recording of Victor Hensley's confession lost, her arrest for cybercrimes a brutal twist of his lies, her blackness and disability weaponized by a system that saw her as a threat. The jail's air was thick with mildew and despair, the 80-degree heat amplifying the stench of sweat and bleach, her arm's wound from the gas station ambush throbbing under a makeshift bandage. She was a fugitive no more, but a prisoner. Her face branded a terrorist across Atlanta's news, the SkyPulse Airline CEO's shadow suffocating her every hope, Keisha's ravaged home, Elena's capture, Tariq's smashed servers, each loss piled on her heart, the weight of systemic racism a chain tighter than the cuffs. Yet her mother's voice, fierce through years of struggle, whispered strength, urging her to endure. The cell was a 6-foot square, its walls scarred with graffiti, the bunk too high for her wheelchair, forcing her to sleep on the floor, her spine screaming with every move. Guards patrolled, their boots echoing, their eyes cold as they hurled racial slurs, mocking her disability, one spitting in her food tray, another tripping her chair's wheels for sport. Inmates, hardened by the jail's brutality, joined the taunts, their whispers of her terrorist label a constant threat, her black skin a target in the crowded yard. Amara kept her head down, her data analyst mind mapping survival, memorizing guard schedules, noting allies among the chaos. A sympathetic guard, a young woman named Tasha with a quiet demeanor, slipped her a contraband phone, its battery half dead, but enough to call Keisha. Amara's voice cracked as she whispered to her sister, the line faint in the cell's damp corner. Keisha's relief a lifeline through the static. Keisha had been digging, her bakery closed but her spirit unbroken, and she'd found a new witness, a former SkyPulse executive named Daniel Holt, who claimed to have emails proving Hensley's bribes. Amara's pulse quickened, her fingers gripping the phone, hope flickering as she imagined Holt testifying, freeing her from this hell, clearing her name. She planned to meet Keisha's contact once released, her mind racing with strategies to protect Holt, believing she'd outsmart Hensley at last. Tasha promised to smuggle more calls, her risk a spark of humanity in the jail's cruelty, and Amara clung to that light, her heart daring to dream of freedom. She memorized Holt's name, her mother's resilience fueling her, picturing the courtroom, the truth finally heard. But Victor Hensley, reclining in his Atlanta penthouse 15 miles away, had no intention of letting Amara rise. His lips curled as he read reports of her arrest, her black defiance a thorn he'd crush with blood. He saw her wheelchair, her fight, as insults to his empire, and he'd break her where she was weakest. His private investigator still tracking her, intercepted Keisha's calls, pinpointing Holt's identity. Hensley paid $70,000 to a prison gang leader, a hulking man with a rap sheet longer than the cell block, to stage an attack on Amara, framing it as a random brawl. He also sent a fixer to intimidate Holt, threatening his family, ensuring his silence. The plan unfolded at noon, the jail's yard packed, the sun blazing at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, the air heavy with tension. Amara wheeled to a corner, her phone hidden in her sleeve, her eyes scanning for Tasha. The gang struck without warning, 3 women circling her, their fists clenched, their slurs a vicious echo of the airport's hate. Amara's heart lurched, her wheelchair tipping as the leader slammed her shoulder. Pain exploding through her spine, her injury flaring like fire. She fought back, swinging the phone, cracking one's jaw, but another kicked her chair, sending her crashing to the concrete, her head slamming the ground. Fists rained down, her ribs cracking, blood pooling in her mouth, her vision blurring as she gasped for air. Guards watched, their radios silent, Hensley's bribe ensuring their inaction, the yard's chaos masking the targeted hit. Inmates scattered, some cheering, others frozen. Tasha's shout lost in the din as she tried to intervene, only to be pulled back. Amara curled into a ball, her body screaming, her spirit teetering, the slurs carving deeper than the blows. The gang fled as sirens wailed, leaving her broken, her wheelchair mangled, its frame bent beyond repair. Guards dragged her to solitary confinement, a 4-foot cell with no light, the door slamming shut, her body left to bleed on the cold floor. Tasha's phone was gone, Holt's name now a fading hope. Keisha's voice, a distant memory. Amara learned through a whispered rumor that Holt had vanished, his testimony silenced by Hensley's fixer, her last chance at freedom gutted. Her ribs ached, her spine a constant agony, her blackness a crime in the jail's eyes, the attack a brutal escalation of Hensley's war. She lay in the dark, her breath shallow, her mother's strength a faint echo, her body and spirit pushed to the edge. Yet fragments of Hensley's recording lingered in her mind, words she'd memorized, a spark to cling to. She'd find a way to reach Keisha, to expose the gang's paymaster, but Solitary's walls felt like a tomb, her every breath a fight. As she drifted in pain, a guard's radio crackled outside, her name tied to new charges, Hensley's next strike looming larger than ever. Amara Jackson's body screamed in agony as she lay in the suffocating darkness of solitary confinement, the 4-foot cell's concrete floor cold against her bruised ribs, her mangled wheelchair useless, her spine a furnace of pain from the prison gang's brutal attack. The jail's mildew stench choked her, the 80-degree heat amplifying her feverish shivers, her black skin marked with fresh scars from a system that saw her as less than human. The guards' slurs, the inmates' blows, and Victor Hensley's orchestrated hit replayed in her mind, each a reminder of the Skypulse Airline's CEO's unrelenting war. Her arrest for cybercrimes, the corrupted recording, the silenced witness. Daniel Holt all piled on her heart, the terrorist label a chain around her freedom. Keisha's voice, faint through the stolen phone call, was a fading echo. Her sister's discovery of Holt now a lost hope, the prison's walls a tomb for Amara's dreams. Yet her mother's resilience, forged in the fires of prejudice, burned in her blood, urging her to fight, to rise despite the crushing weight of systemic racism. She clung to fragments of Hensley's confession, words memorized from the warehouse hack, a spark in the darkness, days blurred, her only measure the guard's footsteps, until a new guard unaware of Tasha's contraband mentioned Keisha's name, whispering of a campaign outside. Amara's heart lurched, her mind sharpening despite the pain, piecing together that Keisha had rallied supporters, her bakery's ruins a rallying cry. Keisha had leaked Amara's prison story to global media, her voice fierce in interviews, detailing the airport slurs, the lawsuit's betrayal, the ambush, and the jail's brutality. Protests erupted outside Fulton County Jail, 5 miles from Atlanta's core, thousands chanting Amara's name, their signs blazing with Free Amara Now and Justice Over Corruption. News helicopters buzzed, streaming the crowds, and social media reignited, hashtags like Save Amara trending worldwide, millions sharing Keisha's plea. Amara's spirit lifted, her fevered body trembling with hope, believing Keisha's fight could free her, could expose Hensley's empire. A new whistleblower emerged, a Skypulse IT technician named Malik Reed, who contacted Keisha with irrefutable server logs proving Hensley's payments to the prison gang. Amara learned this through a smuggled note from Tasha, the guard risking everything, and her pulse raced, imagining Malik's evidence in court. Her name cleared, her life reclaimed. The protests grew, blocking Atlanta's streets, and the jail, under pressure, released Amara on bail. Their paperwork rushed, her cuffs loosened after weeks in hell. She wheeled out, her body broken but her eyes fierce, a borrowed wheelchair, creaking under her weight. the summer sun blinding at 90 degrees Fahrenheit. Keisha embraced her, tears soaking Amara's torn shirt, and they joined a rally outside the jail, 10,000 strong, their chants shaking the earth. Amara spoke, her voice hoarse but steady, recounting her ordeal, the airport, the prison, Hensley's lies. Her words amplified by a megaphone, the crowd roaring in solidarity. News vans circled, their cameras live, and Amara felt invincible, her blackness a badge of defiance, believing she'd finally won, that Malik's logs would bury Hensley, that Elena might be found. Keisha's campaign had turned the tide, federal agents circling Sky Pulse, the world watching her truth. She gripped Keisha's hand, her mother's strength pulsing, envisioning Hensley's arrest, her life pieced back together. But Victor Hensley, watching from a fortified bunker 12 miles away, his bourbon glass trembling in his hand, had one final card to play. Amara's black resilience, her ability to rally a nation, was an insult he'd erase with chaos. He saw her wheelchair, her fight, as defiance he'd crush, her existence a challenge to his empire. His tech team, paid $80,000, had crafted a deepfake video, Amara's face and voice perfectly mimicked, confessing to terrorism, to orchestrating riots, to hacking Sky Pulse for personal gain. Hensley broadcast it through his media, allies. The video flooding screens as Amara spoke, its lies seamless, her digital double weeping in guilt. The crowd faltered, gasps rippling through the rally, phones buzzing with the deepfake, supporters turning to Amara, their eyes confused, some hostile. Hensley's private investigator, still on her trail, mobilized a mob, paid agitators mixed with misled locals, their shouts of traitor and liar drowning her megaphone. The rally fractured, fists flying, bottles shattering, the air thick with panic as the mob surged, their rage fueled by the deepfake's betrayal. Amara's wheelchair skidded, her ribs screaming as Keisha pulled her back, her heart pounding like a trapped bird. Police, bribed by Hensley's allies, stood idle, their radios silent, letting the chaos unfold. A brick sailed, grazing Amara's temple, blood trickling down her cheek, her vision blurring as she wheeled through a gap, Aisha's voice shouting for her to run. The mob chased, their footsteps thunder, racial slurs echoing the prisons, hate, the deepfake's lies turning her triumph to terror. Amara escaped, her wheelchair's wheels spinning, her body pushed to the edge, hiding in an alley's shadows, the stench of garbage choking her, the rally's roar fading into sirens. Her hope shattered, her body bleeding, her blackness a crime in the mob's eyes, the deepfake a brutal escalation of Hensley's war. She thought of Keisha, praying she'd escaped, and Malik, hoping his logs survived. Her mother's strength flickered, urging her to fight. But the terrorist label clung tighter, her supporters fractured, her freedom a fleeting dream. She'd lost the rally, the evidence's power, her safety, each blow from Hensley's invisible hand. Yet her mind raced, plotting one last stand, a way to expose the deepfake, to reach Malik's logs. As she caught her breath, a TV in a nearby shop flickered, her deepfake looping, new charges hinted, Hensley's final trap poised to strike. Amara Jackson's bloodied temple pulsed as she crouched in an Atlanta alley, the stench of rotting garbage thick in the 80-degree night, her borrowed wheelchair's wheels caked with mud from her desperate escape from the mob, their racial slurs and the deepfake's lies echoing like a nightmare. The rally's chaos replayed in her mind. Victor Hensley's fabricated video of her confessing to terrorism shattering her triumph, turning supporters into enemies, her blackness a crime in their eyes. Her ribs ached from the prison attack, her spine a constant fire, her body pushed beyond its limits, yet her mother's unyielding spirit forged through decades of systemic hate, burned brighter than her pain. Keisha's campaign had freed her from jail, Malik's server logs had promised justice, but Hensley's deepfake had stolen it all, the Sky Pulse Airline CEO's empire crushing her at every turn, her job, her lawsuit, her allies, her freedom. The alley's shadows felt like a trap, the city's pulse hostile, new charges looming on the shop's TV, her name tied to conspiracies she'd never touched. She thought of Keisha, praying her sister had escaped the mob, and Elena, hoping her lawyer was alive, their faces fueling her resolve. Amara's data analyst mind, honed through years of breaking complex systems, refused to break now, clinging to fragments of Hensley's recorded confession, words she'd memorized in the warehouse, a weapon still within reach. She needed one. Last stand, a way to expose the deepfake's fraud and deliver Malik's logs to the world. Her burner phone was dead, her wheelchair barely mobile, but she remembered Tariq, the rogue coder, his basement hideout 5 miles away, a faint hope. She wheeled through backstreets, her arms wound seeping, the summer humidity slick on her skin at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, her heart pounding as police sirens wailed in the distance, their manhunt unrelenting. Tariq's basement was a fortress of blinking servers, the air cool with recycled air, his dreadlocks swaying as he pulled her inside, his eyes wide at her battered state. He'd seen the deepfake, knew its lies and believed her, his fingers flying over keyboards as he agreed to hack Skypulse's hidden servers, a last-ditch effort to find the original confession. Amara's pulse raced, her wheelchair creaking, as she leaned over his shoulder, guiding his search with her expertise, their screens glowing with encrypted files. They breached a secret server, its data guarded by military-grade firewalls, and found it. A pristine video of Hensley, his voice chilling as he detailed his campaign against Amara, from the airport slurs to the prison attack, admitting he'd framed her to protect Skypulse's profits. The file was a goldmine, time-stamped, unalterable, paired with financial records linking him to mercenaries, police bribes, and the deepfake's creators. Amara's chest tightened, her breath shallow, believing this was her salvation, the truth that would clear her name, free Elena, and save Keisha. Tariq devised a plan to live-stream the video globally, bypassing Hensley's media allies, using a secure platform to reach billions. They worked through the night, Amara's body screaming, her vision blurring, but her resolve ironclad, her mother's strength a beacon. The stream was set for dawn, and Amara prepared a statement, her voice steady despite the pain, ready to expose Hensley's racist empire to the world. But Victor Hensley, holed up in Skypulse's headquarters 10 miles away, his bourbon glass shattered on the floor, sensed her final move. His eyes burned as he watched the rally's fallout, Amara's black defiance a fire he couldn't extinguish, her wheelchair a symbol he loathed. He'd paid $90,000 to fortify his servers, but his investigator, still tracking her, had traced her to Tariq's signal, his betrayal of justice rising a playbook he'd reused. Hensley knew she'd strike digitally. Her persistence, a threat to a secret he'd buried deeper than her. A network of corrupt elites, politicians, and CEOs who'd funded his rise, their hands as dirty as his. He couldn't let her expose the server, its data a key to their empire, and he'd end her himself. As Amara and Tariq initiated the livestream, the basement's silence shattered, Skypulse's private security storming the building, their boots hounding, flashlights slicing the dark. Amara's heart lurched, her wheelchair skidding as Tariq jammed the stream's upload, the video going live to millions, Hensley's confession blasting across screens. She wheeled toward a back exit, her ribs cracking with pain, but the door burst open and Hensley himself stepped through, his suit pristine, his eyes wild with rage. His mercenaries flanked him, rifles raised, but he waved them back, his voice a venomous hiss as he confronted Amara, his words spilling the truth. He'd framed her to protect the elite network, their power untouchable, her blackness a convenient scapegoat. Amara's breath caught, her mind racing, realizing the stakes were bigger than Skypulse, a conspiracy stretching beyond one man. She'd prepared for this, her wheelchair rigged with a hidden recorder, Tariq's backup stream capturing, Hensley's rant, his admission of the network a bombshell to the world. The mercenaries hesitated, their loyalty wavering as the live stream's view count soared. Federal agents alerted by the broadcast, their sirens closing in. Amara's voice was calm, her eyes locked on Hensley, taunting him to confess more. Her recorder humming as he raged, detailing the elite's names, their crimes, his role as their enforcer. The basement shook with the roar of helicopters, agents breaching the building, their shouts drowning Hensley's curses. Amara wheeled back, her chair tipping, but Tariq caught her, his laptop streaming to billions, the world watching as agents cuffed Hensley, his face contorted, his empire exposed. The mercenaries fled, their rifles clattering, and Amara's heart soared, her pain fading in the rush of victory, her truth finally heard. The livestream ended, the video archived, shared endlessly. Hashtags like Amara wins trending globally, Sky Pulse's stocks crashing, federal probes launched into the elite network. Amara was free. Her charges dropped, Elena found in a safe house, Keisha safe at home, their reunion tearful under Atlanta's dawn. Yet as Amara wheeled out, her body broken but her spirit fierce, a chilling truth lingered. The elites remained free. Their names whispered in the stream, their power untouched. Hensley's final glare, as he was dragged away, carried a warning, his allies plotting revenge, their reach vast. Amara stood tall, her mother's strength her armor, knowing her fight had sparked a movement, her blackness a beacon. But the war was far from over. She thought of Keisha, Elena, Tariq, their faces grounding her, and vowed to hunt the network, to finish what she'd started. As she faced the sunrise, a news alert flashed, a shadowy group claiming the deepfake's creation, their message aimed at her, a new threat poised to strike. Amara Jackson's journey in security mocks disabled woman boarding plane, then CEO arrives, unveils profound lessons about resilience and systemic racism's brutal reach. First, Amara's unyielding spirit, despite relentless attacks, on her blackness and disability, teaches that inner strength can defy even the most powerful oppressors. Her refusal to break, from the airport's slurs to the prison's violence, shows that courage grows in the face of injustice, a beacon for anyone facing prejudice. Second, the story exposes how systemic racism, wielded by figures like Victor Hensley, manipulates institutions, media, police, courts, to silence truth, highlighting the need to question narratives that vilify marginalized voices. Amara's false victories, crushed by smears and deepfakes, reveal the depth of entrenched power, urging us to challenge systems that protect the elite. Third, her alliance with Keisha, Tariq, and others underscores the power of community, proving that collective action can amplify a single voice, even when odds seem impossible. Finally, the elite network's lingering threat warns that individual wins like Hensley's arrest are steps, not endpoints, in dismantling systemic hate. Amara's fight inspires us to persist, to expose truth, and to build alliances against injustice. What moment in Amara's battle against racism stories inspired you most? Comment below, hit like, subscribe, and share to amplify her truth. Thank you for joining this journey. May you find strength to stand against prejudice in your own life.